Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a strong core breaker to this new Open Great League meta, and that is Shadow Galarian Weezing. Now, these battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community and 2024 Pokemon Go World Champion Yakai, so many thanks for the battle submission. Yakai's team features Shadow Galarian Weezing on the lead, running Brutal Swing and Sludge, Shadow Quagsire as the safe switch, and Guzzlord as the closer. Now, getting to watch a Pokemon Go World Champion in action is an absolute treat, so I cannot wait to see Yakai demolishing the competition. So, without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, Yakai picks up a pretty nice lead, Shadow Galarian Weezing into Jellicent. Now, an important thing to note right off the bat is Yakai is not throwing the Brutal Swing instantly. Instead, Yakai throws on 7. This forces the Jellicent to throw on alignment, or if they try and go for good timing, then Yakai can force a shield. After forcing the shield, Yakai gets the catch onto the Guzzlord, and the opponent is in absolute shambles instantaneously. They're going to be sending in a Shadow Drapion. Drapion tries to go for a CMP tie with a Sludge Bomb, but that's going to give an entire free Dragon Tail over to the Guzzlord. Crunch lands, Guzzlord has so much banked energy. Guzzlord's energy is walled, but the Dragon Tails are definitely starting to add up. Guzzlord gonna try and reach for the Sludge Bomb, but Drapion will outpace. Drapion gets the Aqua Tail, but that's not gonna be enough to secure the KO. Back in comes the Weezing, and Weezing actually ends up losing charge attack priority to Drapion to my surprise. This must be an attack weighted Drapion, because that is a very close CMP tie. Drapion will get knocked out by the Brutal Swing. Back in comes the Jellicent, and Jellicent is forced to fire off energy immediately. But Yakai is not done yet with the Galarian Weezing. Shield comes up, Weezing gonna overfarm, farming up just shy of back-to-back Brutal Swings, and applying a ton of pressure onto the Jellicent. Jellicent puts up the shield, there's the combo play, switch timer is up, and back in comes the Guzzlord. Guzzlord takes the knockout with the Brutal Swing in the back. Opponent has Morpeko, and Morpeko's about to get absolutely destroyed by a Sludge Bomb. But now, in comes Shadow Quagsire, and the opponent is stuck throwing Electric Ore Wheel, and that's just simply not going to do nearly enough damage to the Quagsire. Morpeko runs Seed Bomb, but it doesn't matter. Oh my goodness, Seed Bomb not being able to one-shot a Shadow Quagsire, I think is the indication that Seed Bomb should never be run on Morpeko. Quagsire takes the knockout, bit of a jump scare at the end, but that's still going to be a win. We move to game number 2, Shadow Galarian Weezing into Pidgeot. This is the non-Shadow Pidgeot, which means it will be able to survive a Sludge, but Sludge will still do some pretty nice damage. Pivot out into the Quagsire. Quagsire CMP ties Aqua Tail to Pidgeot's move. Quagsire does not buy the Brave Bird here, calling the bait, and the opponent is actually on Feather Dance. So now this Quagsire is at -2. A -2 Aqua Tail fails to take the knockout, and unfortunately there's no fast move pressure available. Opponent is going to bank a move on the Pidgeot and send in Shadow Annihilape. Shadow Annihilape is not the tankiest Pokemon around, which means they are taking some pretty considerable damage from these -2 Aqua Tails. Aqua Tail number 2 gets the shield, switch timer's up, and in comes Galarian Weezing. These Fairy Winds are shredding through the Annihilape. Annihilape does have back-to-back Rage Fists. The first one is no shielded, the second one will get the shield, but this should burn the opponent's timer. They can bring back in the Pidgeot. Yakai predicts it, firing off the Brutal Swing on alignment. The opponent does switch, but they send in Licky Licky. Now a tough call to make. Will they throw on alignment? They do throw on alignment, and Yakai is going to get a free Fairy Wind. Yakai wants to protect this energy, gonna farm up, gonna transfer the rollout, and the hope is that that energy will be game-winning later on. In the meantime, Guzzlord is going to have to take Body Slam after Body Slam as the opponent tries to get back to their timer. But Guzzlord is very bulky, so even down a shield, Guzzlord is still very fine here. Opponent switches, there's the pivot into the Pidgeot. They tried for the CMP sack swap, but Yakai's not going to fall for it. Feather Dance is going to put this Guzzlord at -2. Guzzlord switch timer not yet available. In comes Annihilape. Annihilape does get the low kick through as Brutal Swing will connect. Brutal Swing takes the knockout, the low kick does not register. There's the pivot into the Galarian Weezing. Galarian Weezing gets the shield with Sludge. In comes Quagsire. Quagsire just looking to get whatever damage that it can get, and there's still energy loaded on that Guzzlord. Body Slam takes the knockout. Guzzlord has that Sludge Bomb on very low HP. Energy management masterclass from Yakai, and that's going to be a win. We move to game number 3, Shadow Galarian Weezing, once again greeted by Jellicent. Opponent is going to be pivoting out. They save switch into Empoleon, and Empoleon will be answered with Shadow Quagsire. With Mudshot doing less damage this season, it does make this matchup more awkward for the Quagsire, so Quagsire will typically have to go down a shield. And that's why Yakai is not throwing energy just yet. So Yakai is going to be tanking a Hydro Cannon, shielding a Hydro Cannon, and then going for a Stone Edge plus Farm Down. Stone Edge is resisted, but will get Empoleon low. This is going to be close. No, Empoleon hangs on. 1 HP survive. That allows them to force the final shield, and now Yakai's in trouble. Yakai pivots into the Weezing. Opponent is going to pivot out, and they reveal their final Pokemon is Morpeko. That might be the perfect Pokemon in the back to see if Yakai wants a chance to win this game. Brutal Swing Bait gets the shield. Sludge is going to be losing charge attack priority to the Aura Wheel, but there is so much energy stored on that Quagsire. The opponent was running a team that was super AVA weak to the Guzzlord, and Guzzlord will be able to close out this win. As Quagsire gets the shield with the Aqua Tail, going to get big damage with Aqua Tail number 2, and the Jellicent is just going to hit a brick wall in the back named Guzzlord. In comes Jellicent, answered by the Guzzlord, and there is just no path forward for the Jellicent whatsoever. Jellicent just in absolute jail. Jellicent is farming up a ton of energy, but what is that energy going to do into a Guzzlord? Jellicent goes for the Surf. That does nothing. Guzzlord winning charge attack priority, and this Brutal Swing is going to be lethal. Down goes Jellicent. In comes Morpeko. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to game number 4, picking up an amazing lead, leading Galarian Weezing into Shellgon. Opponent safe switches into a Shadow Empoleon, and the Shadow Empoleon should be a lot better of a matchup for the Quagsire. Because the Empoleon is Shadow, they're going to be taking a lot more damage from Mudshot. Yakai is still going to go for a pretty similar game plan though, tanking 1, shielding 1, and then looking to secure a farm down after firing off a move. But because it's the Shadow Empoleon, Quag can probably get away with an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to land, and look at that farm down. Quagsire exiting with the Stone Edge, and this damage, it's going to hurt. It's going to be so much damage onto the Shellgon. Shadow on Shadow, Shellgon gets rocked, Aqua Tail is going to be caught, and let's see, what did they catch on? In the back, oh no, it's Jellicent. Being AVA strong to Jellicent feels like such a smart play right now with the amount of Jellicent usage. Yakai is just absolutely feasting on these teams. Unfortunately, picking up a bad lead in the next match, Galarian Weezing into Quagsire. Yakai safe switches into his own Quagsire, and that's going to be answered with Fearow. This is a very awkward bait versus nuke game. Quagsire able to get the Aqua Tail bait. Opponent tries to CMP die, but Yakai is not going to fall for it. Yakai puts up the shield, and now another tough call. Yakai's going to be full sending the Stone Edge here. This is a tough 50-50. Stone Edge lands. Down goes Fearow. What a call. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next game, Galarian Weezing into Pelipper. Now this is a matchup that I am not familiar with whatsoever. Pelipper going to strike first with a Weather Ball, and Yakai's going to be putting up an early shield, looking to try and invest in the HP of the Galarian Weezing. Weezing farms up to the back-to-back sludge. His opponent stays on the field, no catch onto a Poison Resist. Instead, they're going to be shielding up and firing off the Weather Ball. Yakai going for a double shield, really trying to neutralize this Pelipper. Yakai is going to farm up to the Brutal Swing plus Sludge double up and go for the Brutal Swing, hoping the opponent double shields, and they do, and that means Yakai gets the outpace. The speed of Galarian Weezing is terrifying. Sludge lands, there's the catch onto the Quagsire, and the Galarian Weezing has been preserved. Quagsire, not really too worried about a Weather Ball. Opponent sends out a Wigglytuff, and oh my goodness, it was so important to save that Galarian Weezing. Quagsire just going to look to lock in big damage as it full sends the Stone Edge, and Quagsire can actually make an Aqua Tail as well. The speed of Quagsire, the speed of Galarian Weezing, and just Wigglytuff gets straight up KO'd. Where did the Wigglytuff go? It's just fully gone. They lost so much energy. In the back, they have Licky, and Licky is going to be playing to a CMP tie that it does not win. Galarian Weezing gets to land the Brutal Swing, and that should slam the door on any hopes the opponent had of winning this game. They're going to go for an undercharge, look for a full farm down. They will get the full farm down, but unfortunately, there is a full HP Guzzlord in the back, and there it is. The moment they saw it, opponent is going to be immediately resigning the match. This team is just forcing top left after top left. Oh my goodness. We move to the next match. Oh, what a lead. Galarian Weezing into Annihilape. Opponent safe switches into Charjabug, answered with Quagsire. I imagine that Quagsire actually has a bit of a tough time here, because the Charjabug up energy, X-Scissor is going to hit for some pretty massive damage. If Quagsire lands a Stone Edge, this will guarantee the knockout. Full sends a Stone Edge, it connects, and just like that, problem solved, as the Charjabug tried to call a bait and got one-shotted. Back in comes the Annihilape. Annihilape shields the Aqua Tail to my pretty big surprise, because there's another Aqua Tail basically ready to go on the Quagsire. Quagsire able to get big damage onto the Annihilape. Annihilape exits with a ton of energy, but you never have to shield the first Rage Fist as the Weezing. The Weezing is going to be no shielding. Rage Fist is going to land. They go for Rage Fist number 2, but Weezing can now set up a nice Fairy Wind farm down and is up quite a bit of energy. Opponent stays in, they get fully farmed. What do they have in the back? They had a Fearow in the back, and yeah, they were definitely not winning that. The Galarian Weezing had way too much energy, and there was still the full HP Guzzlord. Hopping into the next match, leading Galarian Weezing into Wigglytuff, and Galarian Weezing's typing is just incredible. Opponent safe switches into Jellicent, and look at that brilliant play from Yakai. It can be so tempting in a situation like that to just bring the Guzzlord into the Jellicent instantly, but you have such a dominant matchup that you may as well bank a ton of energy on the Weezing, because that way, Weezing's energy is pretty universally good across the board. Guzzlord is going to farm up just shy of the back-to-back-to-back Brutal Swings, almost at 100 energy. Brutal Swing lands, going for another Brutal Swing, and this will be knocking out the Jellicent. Jellicent actually decides to put up the shield. Yakai predicts a snipe attempt from the Wigglytuff, but it does not come through. Instead, Jellicent just fires off its energy, and now, after giving up Switch, the path might not be quite as clear, as the opponent has Unova Stunfisk in the back. I definitely do rate the catch attempt there, trying to read that the opponent would try and snipe with the Wigglytuff, but unfortunately it did not happen, and now things do get a little bit trickier. Galarian Weezing able to get some nice damage in with the Shadow Brutal Swings. Brutal Swing does not get same type attack bonus, but Yakai was able to burn the Switch Clock and now send in the Shadow Quagsire, and the Galarian Weezing has been preserved. Stunfisk lands the Mud Bomb, in comes Wigglytuff, but Wigglytuff has now switch locked itself. That should set up the Galarian Weezing to put in quite a bit of work once Quagsire has been KO'd. Quagsire will farm up to the Stone Edge, baiting with the Aqua Tail, hoping to try and get the shield. No shield comes out. Wigglytuff tries to farm down, but Quagsire's pacing is just relentless, getting to a third Aqua Tail, forcing the shield. Switch timer is up, and there's the combo play. In comes Galarian Weezing. All that Wigglytuff energy erased as Sludge takes the knockout, and the opponent immediately top lefts. And you know what? I can't blame them. That was a devastating sequence from Yakai. It looks like the next game is actually starting late, which is really unfortunate. It looks like he didn't miss any turns, but why was the timer counting down as the Pokemon were loading in? That is just not what you want to see whatsoever. And oh my goodness, tell me this isn't the discharge catch. It is the discharge catch onto the Quagsire. Yakai is just absolutely destroying opponents. Unfortunately, Corsola is going to be brought into the Quagsire, and Corsola's neutrals are incredibly strong. Corsola actually would have played to the CMP tie there against the Quagsire as they fire off the Nightshade. Nightshade does take the knockout, and now in comes Guzzlord. Guzzlord just going to look to try and get a massive energy head start as Corsola will fire off the Power Gem. Power Gem does lock in some pretty sizable damage onto the Guzzlord. Opponent pivots and sends in the Charjabug. Them saving the Corsola could make life quite difficult here. Guzzlord can massively overfarm, throwing 2 Dragon Tails and the Brutal Swing. They're just going to be letting the Charjabug go at this point because Charjabug has definitely done its job. There was so much energy on the Guzzlord that a shield would have basically just been wasted. In the back, opponent has more Pekko. Yakai going for the Sludge Bomb, hoping to land it through 2 shields, but the opponent puts up the shield. That is very unfortunate for Pekko. I think they can probably knock out with the Aura Wheel here. This is going to be close. Guzzlord, no shields. It does take the knockout, and that is tough. In comes Galarian Weezing. These Fairy Winds are shredding, but unfortunately now the opponent will be able to apply Psychic Fang's debuffs. And that means that these Astonishes, once the Corsola comes back in, are going to hit incredibly hard. Weezing fires off the Brutal Swing, just wanting to get rid of this Morpeko. Morpeko puts up the shield. There's the Sludge, and no catch comes out from the opponent. The game now comes down to this. Do 3 Astonishes knock out? Oh, they do. DRE? No DRE, the Astonish KOs, and unfortunately that will end in defeat. We see a blast from the past in the final game, leading Galarian Weezing into Shadow Scizor. Now, Shadow Scizor, with the Bullet Punch nerf, in my eyes is basically an unplayable Pokemon. It can still beat things like Alolan Ninetales where Bullet Punch hits for double super effective, but the neutral matchups that it used to just be able to farm through with the aid of Trailblaze, post Bullet Punch nerf, it really cannot do so, and that's when its lack of bulk can definitely get exposed. In this mid-game, Quagsire would love to try and make a play for alignment if possible. Stone Edge lands onto the Azumarill, and Quagsire is already at the Aqua Tail. This pacing is just absolutely wild. Azumarill puts up the shield, the alignment throw, opponent giving out free mud shots left and right. They save the Azumarill, pivot back into the Scizor, but Scizor is immediately answered with Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail gets the shield. Shadow Scizor will outpace. What a catch! Able to save the Quagsire and catch the Night Slash onto Guzzlord. Let's see these Bullet Punches. Man, you can definitely notice the adjustment to Bullet Punch damage. Bullet Punch used to add up a lot more onto the Guzzlord. Now, Guzzlord is just tanking these Bullet Punches so comfortably. Shadow Scizor does have enough for the Trailblaze. They go for the Trailblaze. They pivot out. In the back is Bastiodon. This trainer is running every nerfed Pokemon in the game, and unfortunately it's going to cost them, as in comes Quagsire, and Quagsire is going to get some very nice damage onto the Bastiodon. Quagsire going to be winning Charge Type priority, Aqua Tail hitting for double super effective damage. Bastiodon will be able to take the knockout, but they've just lost so much HP on that Bastiodon. Now, in comes Galarian Weezing, and Galarian Weezing is just going to outspam the Basti. They send in a Zoom Whirl trying for a catch, and that just feeds so much energy to this Galarian Weezing. In comes the Bastiodon. Back-to-back Brutal Swings are loaded. First one is going to connect. Second one is going to be taking the knockout. And then there's a third Brutal Swing loaded for the Scizor. Oh my goodness, Galarian Weezing putting on a show, knocking out Bastiodon, knocking out Shadow Scizor. Man, those Pokemon are not what they once were. And Yakai gets another win. A common theme this week amongst anti-meta Pokemon that have had success is you really want to be able to beat both Jellicent and Wigglytuff. That really just seems like the core to beat right now, and Galarian Weezing accomplishes just that. I really like the play patterns that Yakai was able to demonstrate throughout these battles. Specifically, leading Galarian Weezing into Jellicent, throwing on 7 instead of 4 puts you at such an advantage. Because if you throw on 4, then you're just giving your opponent a very free 1 and a Shadow Ball or a Surf. But if you throw on 7, it forces them to give you a free Fairy Wind, or if they try and throw in good timing, then you can automatically force a shield out of that matchup. That's part of why I really like featuring battlers like Yakai, because their level of skill is so incredibly high that it's honestly a really educational moment, even for me watching. Like, I can learn matchups that I didn't really know a better way to play up until I saw them playing. So, massive thank you to Yakai for sending in this footage. And I know we have league rotation coming up here pretty soon, but in these final days of the Open Great League before it departs for a few weeks, try out Shadow Galarian Weezing. Because if Yakai believes in it, then you know what? I believe in it too. And that Pokemon is a really nice core breaker. Jelly plus Wigglytuff. A lot of the teams that are built around Shellgon lead Shellgon, and you just completely destroy Shellgon with Galarian Weezing. So all in all, it seems like a very strong anti-meta pick that can core break a lot of popular teams. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.